Hey everyone, on this episode of Synth Sherlock, we'll be looking at some of the samples used in the Super Metroid soundtrack. Trying to locate and identify the original sample libraries and gear used by composers Minako Hamano and Kenji Yamamoto has proven to be quite a difficult challenge. Fortunately, several members of the Church of Kondo and related VGM discords, as well as myself, have found several answers into the audio production history of the game, albeit not complete ones. Super Metroid utilizes several samples from Optical Media International's Universe of Sounds. This library spans across 3 separate volumes and has been re-released several times for different samplers. All of these different releases have made sample findings for this game very convoluted because each version can have both exclusive or missing samples. At first, I thought the Roland S550 version of the library was used, since Koji Kondo used an S550 for Super Mario World. This didn't turn out to be the case, as we soon discovered more Super Metroid samples not in this version, but rather the library made for the earlier EMU Emulator 2 instead. For a moment, it started to look like the Emulator 2 library was the one utilized for the game, but then we also discovered a snare sample for Green Brinstar in the S550 port. Strangely, it is not in the earlier Emulator 2 release, which again has more Super Metroid samples. We'll get back to this snare drum later in the video. As you can see, it gets complicated really quick, and spreadsheets have been created to help make sense of all this. The library has also been released for Sample Cell, as well as EMU Emax 1 and Emax 2. However, the Emax versions are missing volumes, so at this time it's currently impossible to nail down exactly which Universe of Sounds library was used for Super Metroid. Here is a small selection of Universe of Sound samples used in the game. Another sample, where we're not entirely sure of their true origins, is the choir heard in Red Brinstar and the Space Pirates Appear theme. For the longest time, this sound was incredibly tough to spot until Michael02022 from the Church of Kondo Discord found a sample named Galilei from the state-of-the-art Volume 1 sample library released by ProRec. Despite Yamamoto-san's splices to help fit the sample in the SNES's limited memory, the choir from this library matches up nicely with the game asset. However, we're not sure if this library was used for Super Metroid at all, because we don't know exactly when the library was released. ProRec's website mentions a Keyboard Magazine review from September 1996, which would place it 2 years after Super Metroid was released. And judging from the fact that this library has a lot of content taken illegally from other sources, such as J.J. Yanchalik's Art of Sampling for example, it's more than likely that this choir sample was lifted from some other mysterious source. What makes this sample even more interesting is that it is used in another famous piece of 90s Japanese media. My friend the Sentinel pointed out that the choir in the track Do You Love Me from the Neon Genesis Evangelion soundtrack is the exact same one from Super Metroid's Red Brinstar. While browsing through the state-of-the-art library, I discovered the Green Brinstar snare that was originally located in the S550 port of Universe of Sounds. The directory where I found the snare was labeled as Drum Machine X Intrude Full Level, and upon reading that, it dawned on me where this snare was taken from: Intruder by Peter Gabriel. Just like how Super Mario Kart inadvertently uses a horn stab taken from Beatbox by Art of Noise, Super Metroid uses the snare drum from Peter Gabriel's Intruder for Green Brinstar. While it is well known that the various boss roars in Super Metroid are taken from several different Godzilla creatures, for example, Ridley's roar is taken from Anguirus, if I'm saying that right, there is another sound effect heard in the game that's lifted from a well-known movie. If you ever thought that Samus's spaceship sounded familiar to you, well, that's because the sound effect was taken from the speeder bike chase in Return of the Jedi. It is currently unknown if Yamamoto-san recorded the sample directly from the movie himself, or if he used a sample library that already stole it. I hope you enjoyed this brief archaeological dig of audio for one of the greatest video games ever made. If you like this video, or enjoy my music, please consider supporting me via Patreon, as it will help me continue making more videos like this. As always, thanks for watching, and have a good one.